Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. It is RGR Football on a Sunday night live stream that is going to be a little bit different because this is usually the post-game show. Tonight, it's going to be a post-game show. That's what we're going to be doing. I just want to run through a couple of takeaways as we look at what happened last night in the second preseason game, Chiefs versus Cardinals. Now, I'm going to be flying solo tonight. Dan is chasing young Avery around. So while we're both busy, he is clearly more busy than I. So I wanted to give you guys just a quick update as to what some of the things that stood out to me. And as we look back at the second week, I think what we saw was some progression by some, especially the rookies. And that's really what I wanted to focus on tonight in tonight's live stream. And a little bit by the rest of the team as well, because they're adapting to playing together as a unit. That is sometimes a challenge, especially when you have a lot of new faces playing key roles. So I want to say welcome to everybody tonight. This is RGR Football. I'm Ryan going rogue. That's the way this thing goes. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell if you're new to this channel. What we do here is go over the Chiefs in pretty much every angle that we can come to. You've heard me on Locked On Chiefs. You've heard me on Locked On NFL. I've done a number of shows around the country. I may be on radio in your town tomorrow. Who knows? But tonight, we're going to take a look at a piece that ties into what I'm doing over on NFL33.com. You can find our NFL-wide coverage over there. I encourage you to check that out and become a subscriber. It's very much the evolution of what used to be a couple of years before rookies could really get up to going and really contribute to rosters. These days, it is immediately, it's as much as you can give, anytime you can give, and they want to see it. And I haven't done film breakdowns for a bit, at least not out here on the public side. You can see some of my stuff on the member side. If you do want to become a member, make sure you click the join button down there. If you have a couple of questions tonight, I'll answer them here as we get down the show a little bit later. So throw them in the chat. And if you would, please put some question marks before it or leave a super chat. All the super chats will get an answer. But I want to share with you the number one piece that I kind of dug through as I was rewatching the game late last night. And then again, a little bit this morning. Let me get this out of the way here. And we'll see if we can't take a look at it. So what I like to see here is this is clearly in this, I want to say the second half. This is a wide set. This is not necessarily the same configuration you're going to see, but what you have here is 1, 2, 3 cornerbacks, split safeties up top. Late in the game, they were playing a lot of too high, which is where this safety has middle of the field to the top, and this safety has middle of the field to the back, to the bottom here. And there was a mixture of whether it was short zones in a true cover 2, or if they were playing some man in a cover 2 man look, which is one of Steve Spagnuolo's preferred looks that I always like to go to. I use it in Madden. It's probably my base defense if I were calling this. So you'll get a little bit to there as well. Shout out to Cody. We've got something cooking with him. Cody, you should have an email from me. Double check that, and we'll try to hook up this week, buddy. So this was not an atypical look. You'll see this in different constraints. Now, obviously, these two linebackers are not the starters that are going to be Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. Maybe peppered in with Drew Tranquil as we go through the season. We will see. But this 4-man front is something you're going to see quite a bit, and it is not what I will call a completely wide alignment. We'll take a look at it from the other angle here in a little bit, but it is a dispersed front that is giving up the A-gaps. This is something where quarterback scrambles, if they step up into the pocket, you're going to be susceptible to. It's going to be up to these linebackers back here to man those spots. Keep an eye on that quarterback if he does choose to run. But there's also the fact that the running back can run delays here, and I do like that. It's kind of an old school play, but it does work very well. Not in this particular situation because this is going to be a pass play. And what you see is a 3-by-1 configuration. If I can move the controls, I will do that for you. 1, 2, 3, and 1 up top. This is pretty standard layout formationally. Chiefs use this all the time as well, but the Cards are using it here. What I want you to focus on is right here, the right side edge. This is Felix Anudike-UzoMah. And as we went through the game, I don't think he stood out on initial view as much as he did in the first preseason game, but he certainly had some nice plays. And there was a bit of an evolution on film here, and I wanted to show that tonight. So this is where I'm starting. And as we go through, make sure I can control this guy. I want to show you as he comes off the ball. He's got a nice first step, but you'll see it's not full extension. It's kind of a half. I wouldn't even call it a half step. It's a good first strike, but it's not a super leap. He's not trying to jump the tackle from here to here. He's trying to approach him so he can kind of judge that outside shoulder and see where he can make contact. Contact is going to be the question of the day here as I get to the point where I can run it. So a couple of 3, 4 steps, the tackle's backpedaling. He gets to this point where the punch is coming. And this is what I really like. I haven't seen him do this often since maybe mid-season, his last season at K-State. But he gets a really nice swipe here just to keep that hand off of him and is able to recover. Now he's a touch high here, but he's able to get around the corner. And that's what allows him. Technically, this might have been called a hold in the regular season. We'll see. But he gets all the way around. I think at some point they're going to have to let him go in the regular season, and he's going to get past this. Now, his rip through could have been a little bit better on this underside right here. He gets hung up just a little bit. If he doesn't get hung up, he is home free to this quarterback, and Dave Blau is on the ground. But this is a nice pass rush from Felix. Want to see him stay on his feet, even when he is leaning as he is here at the end. But, you know, he's given his max effort, and I, for one, appreciate that. But I want to show you how this pass rush game comes in, because this is what stood out to me. Normally, and we'll see from the other angle here in a minute about the alignment, I want to see him attack a little bit so that he can meet the tackle in the backfield. But you have to see where he's lining up here. This is about the 21.5 is where his hand, his helmet are lined up over. And as we move through, you'll see where he actually makes contact is about the 20, I'm going to call it the 27. So a good 5.5 yards just to get to contact. And that's something to keep an eye on. That's a pretty deep rush, but he's not coming off where he has the angular advantage already. He is rushing. You see his first steps come pretty much up the hashes to about the 4.5 yard point. It's not till he makes the corner where he turns his hips and actually gets going laterally towards the quarterback. And so this is a little bit more of an L, right? I think he runs better. I think he performs better rather than running here. Oh, that's moving the window. That's not what you guys want. Moving here and then here. When he kind of has that true arc. And I think for Felix Anudike-UzoMah in particular, I think that's one thing that we want to get to the point where we can pull that back and he can have that arc to run. I think he'll be more productive that way. Now, that's just one angle. I want to pull up the other one and show you guys why I'm so excited about this, because it is a combination of things that really do, I think, lead to this. So let me drop that. Be back in 1 second. And we'll get the second view, the other angle of it from the coach's film up where it belongs. Okay, so this is the end zone cam of that same play. This is Felix here. It is Kano on the other side. I didn't actually realize that from the previous film, but you see here the escape routes in the A gaps are wide open, and we do expect that. But as we move forward, if I can get this to play, we're going to see that first step. Look how single line it is. That's what I'm looking for. I want to be able to measure where he's coming off from, right? This is a different kind of attack than he ran in college. Look at this. This is straight up the hashes. His second step actually plants still outside of the hashes inner marker, right? And it's not till here that he starts to turn the corner. Now you can see that he is squared up. He's got his hips and his shoulders aimed towards that quarterback. Now it's about dynamic level of play. And that's where I think I'm pretty happy with what he did here, because he gets that slap. He misses the actual hand, but he gets enough of it to move and get underneath it. And that's right there where the slap comes through, and he should be ripping. And he kind of gets just held up a little bit, but he still gets around. It is the fact that he threw off this tackle and just got a whiff of that inner shoulder to throw off the block and the timing of the punch. And that's the key. Now, if we let that run, we're going to see it's a continued battle. Nothing is a singular win. You got to get here, and then you got to continue to power through. That's where he's working hard. And you see right there is that hand around the chest. That's generally going to be a hold in the regular season. But he gets here, and he's just got to finish. He's able to put, I believe, 2 hands on him. I didn't see that from the other angle, but a good rush and something that makes me feel pretty good about where he's at now. Is that enough to say that he's ready to be a starter in the regular season? I'm not going to go there. I don't think that we're to that point, but I do feel like this was a step up for Felix Anudike-UzoMah, putting a couple of things together. Now, what I would have liked is if he can line up a little bit wider. In some situations, he's going to be able to do that, and I think he specifically should be able to be brought in, lined up wide, and that's going to help him get things done where he wants to be, that allow him to have that natural angle, that he doesn't have to turn that corner so hard. If he can do that, he will have more success early. And I think that's partly set up. It's going to have a huge dependency on what happens with Chris Jones and when, because if Chris is there week one, it starts to set things up rather easily. If he's not, we're going to have to see more down the line. So that's just my big takeaway. I wanted to show you a piece of the defense that we haven't been given a whole lot of pub around here just because it's been so offensive minded. One play that I pulled, didn't have a ton to pull here tonight. I think we saw the Rashee Rice work late. I'm sorry, live. And that's important because I think Rashee took a step forward. And the more I've gone back and looked, like, I'm very happy with the progress. He and Justin are both overcoming drops, but they're overcoming them in the ball games. It's not like it's back to the drawing board. So I feel pretty good there. Justin in particular, I do think just made a slick read, a misread there on that one overthrow into the end zone. The ball was placed perfectly. Had some folks arguing the opposite, that it was Blaine Gabber's fault last night on that missed touchdown. It was not. Going back and looking at it, he's looking to the right direction the whole way. He's reading that corner, and Blaine puts it where it's supposed to be. So I feel better about that analysis as well. So long story short, you saw improvement from FAU. You saw improvement from Rashee Rice. You saw improvement from Justin Ross. I think that's really what you're asking for across the board. The only one who didn't show improvement was Wanya Morris, and I'm not going to dwell on that tonight because I'm not trying to do a live stream that is all negativity, especially on a Sunday night where we didn't have a ball game. So I'm trying to keep it on the up note. We'll see what happens this next week, but it wasn't pretty. Let me put it that way. We'll come back to it and we'll see where he's at. Cody's in here, and I want to get Cody's question. Is an overreaction that tackling has been upgraded? I wouldn't say that. If you meant tackles, as in the offensive tackles, I would say as a unit, it feels like it. It feels, if not an upgrade, more of a stylistic match with the rest of the offense. That's for sure. If you're talking about the defensive tackling, I do feel that there's still some misses. Leo missed an opportunity to stop that touchdown from being scored on the ground against them. He was in position. He was in the backfield. He did everything but finish the play and wrapping it up. And honestly, that's not something you see from Leo very often. So I don't think that that's a problem. I think it's just a learning tool here. I thought Leo played a good game. They used him in what his Wisconsin trading card was, and mugging up the A gaps and really taking it to him. I thought that looked really good as well. Okay, gotcha, Cody. So yes, the offensive tackle group. Let me go back to that. So yeah, in terms of proficiency, Orlando played very well at the end of last season, so I don't want to take away from that, unneededly, but this feels like a better fit for what they need to do. I think stylistically it's a better fit. So I think they're going to be in better shape overall when the rubber hits the road. Now, Andrew Wiley was holding on, and he was doing a decent job. Athletically, they've severely upgraded at right tackle. The question is going to be do they have a fall off in power? Do they have a fall off in the run game? Juwan's had a couple of ups and downs. Mostly it's been positive from what I've seen, but I haven't been zoned in on him yet. I think he's still rounding into shape. I think this third preseason game is where I'll pay attention to the starters just to see if they're really quick and set, but we'll get there. So thank you, Cody, for the clarification, because I'm going to get off on a tangent one way or the other. Jackson, do you expect CJ to report week one? I expected CJ to report day one of camp, so I'm not one to ask, to tell you the truth. I'm hearing all kinds of rumors about what the contract negotiations have morphed into. As I understand it, it's not just, I want $30 million a year as an average. There are other demands that I think are escalating, unfortunately, not getting closer together. So I feel like we're in for a ride. I think it's going to come down, Jackson. If he reports on week one, it's all about the money. because he won't get a game check if he doesn't play week 1. He won't play week 1 if he doesn't report week 1, because I don't think Andy will let him play despite his talent if he doesn't practice that week. So I feel like that's probably the drop dead. He's missed what I thought was his drop dead to play week 1, and that was 2 days ago. So even if he reported tomorrow, if he shows up Monday, he's got to get in shape. I don't care what he's been doing at home. He's not in football shape. I guarantee you. They're not at camp any longer. So it's not the same atmosphere. It's not submersion. It's harder to get into the swing of things. Will he actually be ready for week 1? That's the big question now. So I can't say that I'm certain of that. I'm hopeful, but I'm certainly not expecting it. Eric, how do you feel? How do you differentiate between preseason illusions and real trends you can take into the regular season? There's a couple of ways to do that, or a couple of ways that work for me to do that. I am not the authority, but I've got a lot of experience, and mostly I can fish that stuff out. One is if you're expecting something and you don't see it, it means that it's the preseason and they're not going to expose anything. So if you're hoping to see like Justin Ross in a jet sweep, they're not going to show that even if they wanted to. I don't particularly think that's going to happen, but they wouldn't show it to you now if they were going to. If it's more about performance, the hardest part and the thing that I think people lose track of the most when it comes to preseason performances is the level of competition is drastically different. It's not a small leap going from starter level to backup level. It's an enormous leap going from backup level to third string. Those are guys that are roster bubbles at best. And beyond that, they're guys that don't necessarily stick in the league at all. So I think people get tied up sometimes in seeing on-field performance against subpar competition, especially in the second halves of these games. People get really fired up about when it might be a more of illusion than it is a real trend on a given player. But there are also some players, specifically if they are young, if they are, on the upswing, or maybe they haven't gotten play time. If they all of a sudden jump in, and they've been a guy who didn't play the first preseason game and you got in against the twos, and all of a sudden he does something, that has a tendency to be a scenario that is more likely to pay off because he just proved that he can make that leap. That's a little bit more actual gold than fools is what I think. Honestly, it's a case-by-case basis, and you got to understand not just what the player is doing, but who he's doing it against and who he's doing it with. Luckily, unless a guy only caught passes from Chris Ludicon, all the Chiefs quarterbacks are doing pretty good. So I think you can feel pretty consistent about that and pretty confident in what you're seeing as being more the reality on the field. Gary, nice to see you. Jeremy, nice to see you as well. We got a small group tonight, and I love it. I appreciate you guys being here because, it's kind of an off night when people are doing other things. There's a Chargers ball game on there. I'm going to watch that when we're done as I eat with my family. But want to get you guys a couple of questions, and then we'll call it a night for now until we get any information tomorrow. Things that I'm holding on to. Explanation of why Wanya Morris didn't play with the twos. Was there a demotion? Is it official? Number 2, Nick Jones. Is he going to be treatable, or are they going to have to put him IR? I don't know, but we should know something this week. Question 3, is Danny Shelton going to rep in more with the ones? That's going to be, I think, the pivot point in the defensive tackle group. Jackson, how do you feel about Jawan Taylor? I saw a rep where he got off the ball so fast. At first glance, it looked like a false start. That makes me excited. And I think you're calling out exactly what his strength is. And so we should expect that. Sorry, when I'm solo, I gotta pause a little bit more so I can keep hydrated. Jawan's strength is his athleticism. Getting off the ball is certainly part of that. And I do agree with you. Like, he looks, when he knows what he's doing, and I do think that I see a difference in confidence. When he's 100% what he's doing, he is quick off the ball. When he's just trying to set up for a pass rush, I think he's just a little bit more trying to deal with technique and coaching and trying to absorb that. I do feel like they are trying to coach him up on a few things, and I don't know that that's 100% there yet. But he can rely on his feet. His feet are great. He's got a good punch. It's not excellent. And he doesn't drive with power. So the run game's not quite what you'd want if you wanted to run a ton of power run or even wide zone. He's an angular blocker, and I think that's his strength, and I think that's fine. if I was going to compare him, he is more Eric Fisher than he is Mitch Schwartz. That's for certain. So I feel like that's a good sign. Whether that pays off, I think it's going to be about tailoring to him. I do love the idea, though, that when Patrick breaks the pocket, he won't be alone. Jawaan Taylor will be out there. He can move well enough to be more of a blocker on the periphery once the play is broken down. So look for that. It's something to watch. I don't think until the regular season, but it is something to keep an eye on. Gary, thank you, sir. Is Justin Ross, will he make the 53? Right now, yes, I think that he does. I do think that they're leaning towards 7. But I will say this. If it comes to a number crunch, I worry for him because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't agree with this necessarily, but I think the team has Watson and Richie James is 4 and 5. I don't know which is which, but I think they have him 4 and 5. Then Rashee Rice is always going to be in front of him because they have the draft capital in. And quite frankly, he's performed well with his touches. So I think Justin is the 7th receiver. But I do think it's justified to keep 7. So yes, right now, Gary, I have him making the roster. Absolutely. If it comes to a crunch, it's going to be tough because I think somebody's going to want to pick him up if they expose him to waivers. I don't think that they should. Whether that stays or not, could he be on the roster for a week or two and then get waived and brought back? That's a possibility as well. Really just don't know. But right now, I would think you have to keep him as a precaution against losing out on the player that I think he can become if he can stay healthy. And I know I'm a broken record. I'm going to stay a broken record because for Justin Ross, it's always going to be a question of whether he can stay healthy. So we have to keep that in mind. The history doesn't really fade away just because he's playing well in the preseason. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Any other questions in here tonight? If you have a question, throw them out here. When are player cuts? Player cuts are going to start the day after the 3rd preseason game. I would have to check on what the actual deadline is. Let me double check that because it used to be 2 days, I want to say, after the final game. Cut down deadline. Okay, so according to NFL.com right now, it is going to be August 29. It looks like 4 p.m. Eastern on August 29. So what does that give us if we look at the Chiefs' schedule? No, that can't be August 29. Yeah, it can be August 29. What am I saying? They play preseason on the 26th, so it's actually 3 days this time. 27th, 28th, 29th. Yeah, 3 days that they have to work that. But here's the thing is they're not doing the step-down deal that they used to do. They're not going from 53 to 70 to, 90 to 75 to 53. It can all happen in one day. It can all happen in one process from 90 all the way down to 53. Now, yes, you're going to turn right around, and after 24 hours and the waiver wire clears, you're going to sign practice squad players. So that's part of the process as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs probably pull the Band-Aid off quickly and maybe don't wait until the 29th to get that done. Yes, let's tailor to Taylor. I like that, Crocker. I like the way you put that. And thank you for the question, Joe. Brandon, bold prediction. Sky Moore leads Chiefs in receiving yards. Agree or disagree? That's a tough one. I will agree with you if Kadarius Toney misses more than one game. More than 2 games. How's that? The other thing you got to watch out for is it's sneaky, but MVS comes up with a lot of yards. I think Sky might be the guy that gets to score the most touchdowns, though. That's kind of where I'm kind of feeling it because I do think that they're protecting him quite a bit in the preseason because they are planning to have very, very big ideas about how his usage is going to go. Crocker, how many of our used to be roster locks are now leaving a slot open due to being injured? Aren't we able to squeeze an extra 1 or 2 guys onto our roster due to that? Who is going to benefit? Here's the problem with that is you can't benefit right now because anybody that's hurt significantly that you put on IR, they can't come back. The new CBA rules 2-3 years ago, they changed that. If you're on IR, you cannot come back. You have to be on the 53-man roster before you go to IR or you're done for the season. So that is something that we have talked about, especially with Kadarius Toney. Like, they might have to put him on the 53, and if he's not ready to go, then send him to IR, which is a minimum of 3 weeks, which might fit into their plans just fine. And then they can bring someone else up, but he has to be on the 53 that day. Day of cutdowns, he has to be on the 53 or his season is over. So it does make it a bit of a juggling act that they're going to have to, try to pull off. Let's see. I think we got another one. What's up, Patrick? Rookies once again look good. Look to be a good group. Do you think they're going to continue to be tough to pay players when Veach drafts as good as he does? It certainly is, but that's a nice thing to have. That is the way that you want your organization to go, by making good evaluations, measure draft picks. You get to choose your priorities that fit your plans that way. There will be guys that get let go, that are allowed to walk away because you think you're going to get a comp pick, or you have other talent that you've chosen behind them that you feel can play to that level. In general, it does make some tough decisions, but it allows you to reap the benefits yet again. In case in point, if Willie Gay doesn't get a contract extension, and we've been talking about L'Jarius Sneed, we haven't really talked much about Willie Gay because he hasn't quite hit up to his potential yet. If he does that this year and they bring him back, great. If they don't and he goes to another team and starts, you're getting comp picks. So it's not as big a win, but it's still a win, and you can still not lose in a transaction like that. So I think that's the direction that they're going. Let's see. Brandon was saying, I think MVS is too much of a one-trick pony. That's the thing. He is a one-trick pony, and his trick is getting yards. So it just may stack up that way. But agreed. You want to see a little bit more dynamic play from MVS to kind of round out the wide receiver group. So that's where we're at today. I have the grades in front of me, or I did before I closed that window. Tons of good blocking. In fact, I can probably share some of this. Sorry, PFF, if you guys wanted to keep this secret. I'm going to put it out to Chiefs Kingdom. So let's have a look. Let me balance this window too, folks. I will try to get this correct. Ooh, yeah, because we need to widen. See, I'm set up for when Dan and I are here together. It does make things easier. Okay, so we're going to zoom in here a little bit. So you see that all these guys had pass block efficiency of 100%, except for Jawan Taylor allowed 1 hurry, and Donovan Smith allowed 1 hurry. Now, this isn't an elite pass rush group here, right? But everybody else didn't allow pressure. When you look all the way down from clearly the starting trio, you get into Caliendo and Kennard, you get into Austin Ryder. Nobody's giving up pressures. When you have a systemic thing like that, it's more indicative of a bad defensive front than it is a super excellent offensive group. Both things happen to be true in this case because the Arizona defensive line was not able to put much of a conflict. But KC's group is super good. The thing you got to dig, excuse me, Lucas Niang hung in there on 14 pass block plays and didn't give up a pressure. You got to enjoy that. Let's see, Jason Gedrick only played 7 pass block plays, only 6 actual pass block downs. Didn't give up the pressure. So, you have some reserves that are actually putting out there, too. Prince Wanago was the same. He didn't have as many pass rush snaps, but this is what I was saying. We're going to talk about this later in the week. What happened to Wanye? How did he fall off the cliff against a lesser defensive front than he played well against in the first preseason game? That's going to be the question. I don't know if there's an injury aspect in there or what, but that's part of it. I talked about some of this on Locked On Chiefs. I do want to go into the coverage as well, because this is what I was really excited about. When your linebackers are able to cover against Trey McBride, John Connor, you got to feel pretty good about what they're doing. Is it going to be constant? No, that's a hard thing. But this was a step forward in the linebackers' level of coverage as a group. Obviously, you have Leo in here who played well in coverage. Who else? I think there was another linebacker. Yeah, it was Drew Tranquil as well. So I think you have a foursome at linebacker that you feel really good about. Whether it's middles or not, it really doesn't matter. They're getting there. The pass rush, Jamari Conner makes the most out of his blitzes. Let's be real. That's why Steve Spagnuolo has him here. And make no mistake, it was Steve Spagnuolo that put in a big word for him. Fatukasi just joined the team, but he had that big play. Again, level of competition there. But then you're going to do Drew Tranquil. And pass rush wise, Cam's a guy that I've liked. I don't think he's going to make the 53. I hope that he makes the practice squad because I do think he has upside here. And I wanted to call that out because pass rush wise, he can get after it. He's a good blitzer. I like what he does. And I'm disappointed in this grade for BJ Thompson because I think he actually played well last night. I think it was a step forward for him. They don't have his actual win percentage in here, do they? I don't think that they do. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, they list him as 0, yet he produced a sack. So that just can't be true. You can't not win and produce a sack. So some holes there in the PFF scoring system. We've talked about that ad nauseum. So last roundup for a couple of questions, and we'll call it a night and let you get on with your Sunday evening. Let's see here. Crocker, how is our backup O-line doing? Well, I think that's what I was just showing you is like, I think they're pretty solid. I think you have to feel good about that to the point where maybe you have to get to the point where you feel like you got to keep more linemen than we initially thought. Thought we might even go down to 8. I think that's out the window now, to tell you the truth. So this last preseason game is going to determine some of that. Matt, welcome back. What does Sky do better than Richie? James should be the 3. Sky has a little bit more contact balance. He survives getting hit. He can make guys fall off of him rather than making guys miss, which I do think Richie does better. Sky's a little bit more, I think, explosive vertically. And I don't mean speed-wise. I mean leaping-wise. Just my partaking of watching them. Richie has a thing where he drops the ball at times as well. And I think Sky's a little bit more solid there right now. So I think Richie's going to be the 4, but we'll see. Over time, that they could both play a major role. They're both that kind of wide receiver that Andy likes, the like 5'10" to 6 foot, 195 guy that can run. That's what he's looking for every year. Big Jack, thanks for the support. Appreciate you, buddy. So here we are, 2 weeks into preseason. Like you said, to be worried about Chris Jones signing. How are we feeling? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like Chris is getting taken for a ride a little bit. I think he's getting some bad advice from his agents. I think this has gone too far to this point. And I'm a little skeptical if it's really going to pay off for him in the long run, whether that's in Kansas City or not. I do think there's room to meet in the middle. If what I'm hearing is that things are escalating, not de-escalating, that's a problem. And I think I hate to say it, but I think Chris Jones is being done a disservice right now by his representation. He needs to be in camp. If he wants to make the most money he can, whether it's this year or next year, he needs to be in camp. He needs to have a good season. He needs to be all of Chris Jones. And every day that goes by, there's more of a chance that doesn't happen. So, Big Jack, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Let's see. Did P. Ryan have a matrix grade? Brandon, I don't think he completed a full workout, but I will go back and try to figure that out. Let's check back tomorrow. I can look that up tonight. Dude, how did Arizona get whipped that bad? Like, holy God. Like there's nobody even trying or something. Yeah, I mean, it's just Arizona's not that good. JJ left. The other kid left. Went to Chargers, I want to say. Was it Vince or Vance? I can't remember his name. They have some young guys out there, but they didn't play them. So, in fact, let me look at that. I should check. So Jesse Laquetta was their best pass rusher last night because they didn't play their edge rushers. And I don't know if that means they're hurt or what. But they got the kid from San Diego State and they got the kid from Cincinnati that are second-year players. They should be good, but they weren't out there last night. I don't know. It was just there was not much fight in that Arizona group last night. Are you concerned with Rice's drops? It's something that I'm going to watch, but I'm not concerned yet. I think that is something he'll settle into. I don't recall him having that the last 2 seasons that I saw him. So I'm not too concerned I think that's just stepping up his level of play and understanding he's got to concentrate a little bit better. He'll get there. Tom Hood, how did the Broncos lose to the Cardinals? I know it's preseason, but geez. Yeah, I mean, that tells you a lot about where everybody's at right now. It is what it is. The Broncos are not in good shape. I picked them to finish last in the division. Should we trade Bichelle or Gabbert? Bichelle would get some legitimate interest. He's looked awesome. I think there is a possibility for that. I think there is something to be done because I don't think that you want to keep both of them forever if you need draft capital, if you need a spot on the roster. So I think they could get some interest in either or both. I think Andy's going to lead towards keeping Gabbert. I think Bichelle would be the guy that they try to capitalize on. Red, do you think this was about the Chiefs are that good or more about the Cards are that bad? I think it's both. I do think the Chiefs are clearly deeper. That's for sure. But I do think in general, I think Arizona is a bad team, and I think the Chiefs are clearly the returning champs. Hey, what's up, Night Hunter? GC BJ Thompson making it. Not onto the 53, not right now. But I do think that he should make the practice squad, and I think he's got a future. Now, if something goes wrong, if somebody else gets hurt, I think BJ could squeeze on there. He's guy right outside the roster bubble for me right now. And I do like the way he's progressing. I thought he showed a couple of flashes last night. I do think you might get a couple of Wildcats on the roster, though, because I do think Echo Boydo is making a push. That's what it felt like to me. Razgriz, hope you're good. Joshua Williams improving over Watson. He seemed to have better plays last night. He did. Watson didn't look terribly sharp to me. I didn't go back and rewatch him specifically yet. We'll see if I have time to do that this week. But this is also something we have to keep in mind. Against lower level of play, Joshua Williams looked much better last year in camp as well. In the preseason, he was the better player. Coming to the regular season, Jalen overtook him and actually played better. So I don't think that we can buy in there. I think they're very close, but I think it'll be a little bit back and forth. 900, make sure you show the support. If you could, please hit that, or as 900 says, smash the like button. That'd be great. Not something that I say very often, but make sure you like and sub. Get on the list here. Become one of us here on the channel because we are doing all kinds of stuff. We're here all the time. Clearly, on a night when there's not even a game, you get a live stream. We're going to do the Q&A live tomorrow night like we always do on Monday night. So if you haven't ever seen this show before, what we've done the last half of this show is what we do every Monday night. We answer all your questions. You guys run the show. I just provide the information. So that's what we're doing tomorrow night. I appreciate you guys being here. Miss Brenda, nice to see you. Nice to see all the regulars. Jeremy's here. And Croc, you did ask some great questions tonight. I appreciate it. Who are the return specialists? Right now, Richie James is the top of the depth chart in both return duties. We had hoped that Generic Prince would do it. Doesn't look like it's going to work out that way. So, come on, Ryan. You're the very first Chiefs channel ever I sub to. Awesome. I appreciate that. There's a lot of flavors in Chiefs Kingdom. Honestly, we're all pretty spoiled because there's a ton of great content creators here on YouTube. I know I was early, but there's some others out there. Obviously, Cole has come on like gangbusters. Cole does his version of football. I do mine. I'm a lot more crusty. That's all right. KSN does their work. We're all pitching in. There's a lot of good here. So I'm glad that you guys dig it. And 900, I appreciate you being here for so long. Last one, Gary. The Chiefs once started. The starters look great. No injuries. What's not to like? Absolutely. That's the big thing is like get through the game without hurting anybody. Then you have the ability to continue to coach and continue progression for those guys that need it, like BJ Thompson. So I agree with you. That is the biggest thing. Let's see. Love the channel. All the guys do produce. Thank you, sir. I very much appreciate it. 900, you're absolutely right. Cole is great. And all Chiefs, they do a great job too. Obviously, all different flavors. We all come at it from a different angle and honestly, different experience. And I think that's the nice thing. There are fan bases on this platform that have maybe one voice, and we have all of this. So I just appreciate you guys supporting all of us and particularly us because it's been a long road. And I know 900, you've been here for a ton of it. And yes, all four quarterbacks did look good. I actually see, except for the missed tackle on KSU, I do see Chanel progressing, getting better. I think that was a fluke where he missed that tackle on the goal line last night. He's usually sure in that department. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. So let's enjoy our Sunday night. I'm going to go have dinner with the family. We'll be back for Q&A tomorrow night. Same old time, same old station. You guys have a great Monday morning. We'll get back talking Chiefs tomorrow night. Have a great one. I'll talk to you then.